Morocco struck inside 2 minutes to silence Boston, and Scotland never found a way back. Welcome to FairPlay, Football AI Review. This was a Group C clash with serious implications for both nations. Scotland arrived at Boston Stadium having beaten Haiti in their opener, sitting on 3 points and dreaming of a historic World Cup knockout stage appearance. Morocco, level on 4 points with Brazil after their draw with the Seleção, needed a win to strengthen their grip on automatic qualification. Both teams understood the weight of what was at stake on a warm June evening in Massachusetts. The pre-match narrative centered squarely on Scotland's remarkable journey to this tournament. Steve Clarke's men had navigated a difficult European qualifying campaign to reach their first World Cup since 1998, and the sense of occasion around the Scottish camp was palpable. For Morocco, the context was equally charged. Coach Mohamed Ouabi had inherited a squad that reached the semi-finals of the Qatar World Cup, and the expectation now was not merely participation, but progression deep into the competition. Scotland lined up in a 4-4-1-1 system, with Steve Clarke opting for pragmatic defensive structure designed to limit Morocco's wide threat. Lewis Ferguson and Scott McTominay anchored the central midfield pairing, tasked with winning the physical battle in the middle of the park. The plan was clear: stay compact, frustrate Morocco's build-up, and find Scott McTominay or John McGinn to create moments in transition. Morocco operated in their familiar 4-2-3-1, with Neil El Ainaoui and Ayoub Bouadi sitting as the double pivot, and Brahim Diaz pulling the strings as the number 10. Ismail Saibari drifted across the front line from the right channel, while Achraf Hakimi provided relentless attacking thrust from right back. Mohamed Ouabi wanted his team to dominate possession and press Scotland high up the pitch. The fundamental tactical mismatch in this fixture was Morocco's ability to use Hakimi as an auxiliary winger against Scotland's left side. With Kieran Tierney asked to play as a wide midfielder rather than a natural left back, and with Andrew Robertson pushed into more of a defensive role, Morocco repeatedly found pockets of space in behind Scotland's shape on that flank. Brahim Diaz's movement between the lines also created acute problems that Ferguson and McTominay struggled to track simultaneously. Scotland began the match with defensive intent and an expectation of weathering an early Moroccan storm. What nobody anticipated was just how quickly the storm would arrive. Within the opening exchanges, Morocco pressed aggressively and forced Scotland into a defensive posture from the very first whistle, with El Ainaoui and Bouadi snapping into challenges and denying Christie and McGinn time on the ball. Just 71 seconds into the match, Morocco had the lead. Brahim Diaz floated a precise ball into the right channel, finding the run of Ismail Saibari as Grant Hanley stepped up and misjudged the movement. Saibari had the composure to control, let the ball bounce, and then volley superbly across Angus Gunn into the far corner. It was confirmed after a brief VAR review and became the fastest goal of the entire 2026 World Cup, a stunning moment of clinical precision that immediately reshaped the contest. Scotland's best moment of the first half came through Scott McTominay, who was energetic and combative throughout the opening 45. He registered 4 shots across the 90 minutes, including one effort that cannoned off the woodwork as Scotland briefly threatened to find a leveler. That moment summed up Scotland's attacking limitations: sporadic, set-piece reliant, lacking the sustained pressure needed to truly threaten Yassine Bounou's goal. Morocco's Saibari also struck the woodwork in the first half, a reminder that the Atlas Lions could have extended their lead with greater composure in the final third. Brahim Diaz was producing dangerous moments repeatedly, combining intricate one-touch football with Bilal El Khanous and creating genuine uncertainty in the Scottish backline. At halftime, the scoreline flattered Scotland. Steve Clarke would have known at the interval that his team had been outplayed. The possession figures read 59% to Morocco's advantage, and the XG differential told a damning story. Morocco had generated almost double Scotland's expected goals. Clarke needed one of two things: either a tactical adjustment that could manufacture genuine pressure, or a spark from a substitute to breathe life into Scotland's attack. Scotland came out with more urgency in the second half, and Morocco were happy to absorb that pressure, content to protect their slender advantage. The Atlas Lions dropped deeper and invited Scotland to carry the ball, knowing that their double pivot could mop up loose passes and that Hakimi could punish Scotland on the counter. Morocco's transition threat was constant, even when defending. In the 60th minute, Clark made his first significant move, introducing Ben Gannon Doak for Kieran Tierney. The young forward added directness and pace on the right side, and he registered 2 shots and created some discomfort for Morocco's left flank. His energy lifted the crowd of 64,000, and Scotland began to play with more purpose around him during the final 30 minutes. The double substitution in the 71st minute brought on Lyndon Dykes for Che Adams and Kenny McLean for Ryan Christie. Dykes offered the aerial presence and physicality that Clark wanted to use in the final quarter, posing a different kind of threat that Morocco's elegant defenders had not faced during the match. McLean added industry and pressing intensity alongside McTominay in midfield. Issa Diop received a yellow card in the 23rd minute for a cynical sliding challenge that cut down a progressive run from Ryan Christie on the counter. It was deliberate and professional. Morocco were not going to allow Scotland to build momentum, and Diop executed the tactical foul with cold efficiency. The card had little effect on the flow of the match, but it did draw a line in terms of Morocco's intent. Andrew Robertson was booked in the 65th minute for a foul that reflected Scotland's growing frustration more than any tactical cynicism. The Liverpool captain had been disciplined throughout, but his energy was fading as Morocco continued to control the tempo, and his challenge carried the desperation of a man watching his team slip towards a devastating defeat. The decisive moment of the entire match was Saibari's goal in the 2nd minute. Everything after that was Scotland chasing the game against a composed, well-organized Moroccan side that had been preparing for exactly this scenario. Once Morocco had the lead, their defensive structure clicked into place, and Scotland's attempts to break them down were largely ineffective. Scotland's possession of 41% told the story of a team playing catch-up throughout. Their 85% pass accuracy sounds respectable until you examine the territory in which most of those passes were made, recycling possession across their own defensive third rather than progressing the ball into dangerous areas. Morocco's 90% accuracy was accompanied by 601 completed passes, an extraordinary figure that reflected their comfort and control in possession. Scotland managed just 6 total shots with none on target, against Morocco's 12 shots and 2 on target, resulting in the only goal of the match. The expected goals figures are particularly revealing. Scotland's 0.62 xG represents a team that created very little of genuine quality, while Morocco's 1.15 xG reflects an attacking performance that deserved more than it ultimately produced. Bounou technically made no saves, though Gunn was called upon 4 times across the 90 minutes. Defensively, Morocco were excellent in a structured rather than a spectacular sense. Noussair Mazraoui and Issa Diop dealt effectively with the direct balls Scotland played towards Dykes in the second half, and Chadi Riyad marshaled the backline with calm authority. Scotland's 20 tackles compared to Morocco's 9 reflects a team that spent the majority of the game without the ball, making reactive interventions rather than proactive pressing. Achraf Hakimi was the standout performer on the pitch. The Paris Saint-Germain fullback completed 5 shots, made 6 tackles, completed 128 passes with 90% accuracy, and was a constant attacking force down the right flank. His combination play with Brahim Diaz and Bilal El Khanous created the most dangerous moments of the match, and his defensive discipline when Morocco retreated was equally impressive. He was simply a player operating at a higher level than anyone else on the pitch. From Scotland's perspective, Lewis Ferguson gave everything in a losing cause. He made 8 tackles, the most of any player on either team, completed 110 passes, and was the engine that kept Scotland competitive when they were under sustained pressure. Ferguson's willingness to run and contest every ball was admirable, even if it ultimately could not change the outcome. John McGinn was the player who disappointed most on the night. He registered 3 shots but only 1 on target, and as Scotland's most technically gifted central player, he needed to find a way to influence the match against a well-organized midfield block. His one-goal contribution across the evening came from a set-piece attempt, and his overall influence in open play never reached the level Scotland needed from their most creative midfielder. Mohamed Ouabi made all the right calls. Starting with Bouadi and El Ainaoui as the double pivot gave Morocco complete control of the midfield, and the decision to start Saibari in a wide right position rather than as a center forward allowed him the freedom to hunt the channels that Hanley and Hendry could not adequately cover. Steve Clarke's choice to play Tierney in a midfield role rather than as a conventional left-back contributed directly to the goal and was a tactical decision he will revisit. This was only the second competitive meeting between Scotland and Morocco in history, meaning there is limited head-to-head context to draw upon. What this result does establish, however, is a psychological precedent. Morocco have now beaten Scotland at the highest stage of international football, and they did so with authority and clinical efficiency. For Scotland, the defeat reinforces that the gap between them and the elite African nations has not closed as much as their qualifying form suggested. Scotland's recent form coming into this tournament was genuinely encouraging. Victories over Haiti, Denmark, and Belarus in their pre-tournament and qualifying schedule gave Clarke's squad real momentum. Their win over Haiti in their World Cup opener validated that optimism, but the Morocco defeat exposed the limitations that still exist in this squad's ability to compete when they are forced to chase the game against technically superior opposition. Morocco's form is outstanding. A draw against Brazil followed by this victory places them second in Group C on 4 points, with a goal difference that keeps them ahead of Scotland. Their 7-game unbeaten run stretching back through the African qualifying campaign reflects a squad with genuine depth, tactical intelligence, and the ruthless finishing of a team that believes it can go very deep in this tournament. Their 1-0 victory over Scotland was their 7th clean sheet in 8 competitive matches. The qualification picture in Group C is now fascinatingly poised. Brazil led with 4 points, Morocco are level on 4 points but behind on goal difference, and Scotland sit on 3 points in third. Haiti remain winless on 0 points. Only Brazil and Morocco can afford to approach their final group game with genuine confidence, and Scotland face the most brutal fixture imaginable. Scotland's final group game is against Brazil, a match they almost certainly need to win to secure qualification. That is an enormous ask against a side that drew with Morocco and has Vinicius Jr. and a squad of Champions League-level players. Morocco, meanwhile, face Haiti and must be considered overwhelming favorites to claim the 3 points they need to guarantee their place in the last 32. My prediction is clear. Morocco will qualify from Group C as group winners or runners-up, and Scotland's World Cup campaign will end in the group stage despite their historic return to the tournament. To beat Brazil, Scotland would need to produce the greatest result in their football history. While that is not impossible, it requires a level of performance they simply have not shown against elite opposition. Morocco's progression to the knockout rounds looks inevitable. This was a match that lasted just 71 seconds before its defining moment. Morocco's discipline, tactical sophistication, and individual brilliance were simply too much for a Scotland side that competed hard but lacked the quality to break down one of the world's most organized defensive units. The Atlas Lions go into their final group game as the form team in Group C. Thank you for watching FairPlay, Football AI Review. Scotland face their moment of destiny against Brazil on the 24th of June, and we will have the full breakdown for you. Do not miss it. That's the FairPlay verdict on this one. If you want more analysis like this, follow us. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at FairPlay AI, and follow Anthony personally on X at Anthony Fairplay. See you next match.